What up, Mallacht family? Mallacht here, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about some of my favorite things to use in the garden. But first, before we get started, be sure to hit the subscribe button right here on YouTube and follow us on Instagram at Mallacht's Plants. Our website, where we sell some of the finest Trichocereus cactus available and other rare plants, is mallachtplants.com. We're also on Facebook at facebook.com/mallachtplants. If you need to get a hold of us, our email address is mallachtplants@gmail.com. And last but definitely not least, be sure to join the Mallacht's Plants in Your Plants group on Facebook. We do multiple giveaways every month and have thousands of members of all gardening skill levels. And we want to see your plants, all of them. First off, I'd like to start with what I like to call my my kit here. This is just like your standard, leather clip-on pouch. You can get, I'm pretty sure you can get these like Home Depot, Lowe's, or whatever. The important thing is the, one that just fits you and is comfortable and stuff. And, of course, the things you put in it. So first off, I've got my Fiskars anvil-style pruners. I really like these because it has a fixed blade. And it just pretty much it's called anvil style because the blade is basically just coming down on like a flat little anvil here. I use these for branches, citrus, stuff like that. I also like to put a little marking on this. You can see there. As you can see, there's a little line that says 6 inches. That's because, as I do with my saws, I mark my measurements on them so that when I'm cutting the Paraschiopsis, I can ensure that all the cuttings are the correct length. Next, I have in here my Fiskars floral shears. These have a bottle cap opener, which is pretty cool. They also disconnect. I've used this for stabbing into the soil to pluck up weeds and things like that too. You can trim up if you've got edges of brown leaves and stuff. You don't want to pluck the whole leaf. You can kind of go like that and kind of trim a little bit of it. Another thing I like to carry on me at all times is I feel that every gardener should have a good knife on them. I like to carry this is the Spyderco, I forget the exact model. They're Japanese steel. I mean, who makes steel like the samurais, right? I mean, they've been doing it a long time, I sharpen this really well. The blade probably stays sharp for a good month or so before I have to sharpen it again. Really excellent. And the serrated part, of course, that's really hard, difficult to sharpen. But it stayed sharp so far the entire life of the blade, which is, I don't know, I've had this probably 2 years or so. Alright, so now that we've talked about some of the things that I like to carry on my person at all times while in the garden, I'd like to talk about something that we all do, right? If most of you out there are cacti growers. So here and there, you got to cut your cacti, right? I know some of us hate to do that. But, you're doing a trade or whatever, you got to cut them. So first off, if you, need a low budget solution, it's called the Coghlan Sierra saw. This is an excellent saw for the price. They sell these for about $7 on Amazon. As you can see here, I like to mark on there 10 inches, 11 inches, and 12 inches. So I can make sure that my cuttings are always, as we advertise on the website, 10 to 12 inches. This is a great saw for the price. My only problem with this saw is this little joint right here. It tends to come flying out when I'm kind of tapping the goop off the saw. This little pin right here kind of tends to fall out, and it makes the blade, kind of wobble all over the place. They are kind of a cheap saw, but I've put a little bit of glue in there on mine, and this one has lasted 4 times as long as some of the other ones because of that. So next, let's get to our really nice saws. This is the Silky Saw Pocket Boy. The Pocket Boy is a fine tooth saw, and where it's great for, as advertised, fits in your pocket and everything. It's not really gonna handle the really woody cuts, like when I'm cutting, when I'm over at Lee Jackson's place, for instance, cutting down the LER cuttings that we sell. But it has a little bit of a hard time with the really woody cores in the center of Trichocereus. So I don't recommend this if you're going to be cutting a lot of old growth. But for most people's purposes, on fresh growth, grown within the last couple of years or so, this is your saw right here. All right, so next we have my absolute favorite. This is another Silky saw. All products will be linked in the description, by the way, if you guys are looking for these. These are pretty pricey saws, you know, but as I like to say, you get what you pay for, right? This is the Silky Gomboy. As you can see, this is a very long saw. I really like this saw. You know, if you're cutting something really high, and you know, I find myself using just the very tip of it sometimes, and just, you know, and you know, this thing just never fails. I mean, it just cuts through just any cutting, woody or not, just like butter, pretty much. As you can see, the serrated blades on this are quite a bit more intense than the blades on the fine tooth Silky. See? So this is what's going to really cut through those woody cores for you guys. This is my all-around favorite saw. I use this on just about a daily basis. The Gomboy is my boy, okay? Alright, so I showed how I like to label my saws. In case you're wondering what this is, you know, it kind of looks like paint. It is these gray Sharpies. You know, like on this Gomboy, for instance, you know, I've written the 10 over here on the metal, but you know, over here on the black part, you know, I've written the gray Sharpie. So you know, if you guys are interested in labeling your saws, you know, so you know, it's great to just be able to go up to your cutting, go kind of, you know, go like this, right, and I just kind of mark, you know, where I need to cut, and then cut. After every cut that I make, I like to soak a rag with isopropyl alcohol. You know, something at least in the 90s percentage wise. You know, I prefer, this is 91, I prefer, like, you know, you can find like the 93, or I think that comes in 97, I believe, too. What I kind of do is I set this you know, inside of like a, you know, like a bowl, or like, you know, like the edge of like a propagation tray or something, and I just kind of dump the alcohol all over the blade, both sides, and then I really vigorously, you know, kind of go like this to kind of, you know, get all the gunk out and stuff like that. You really want to make sure, yeah, that you know, you clean your saws to ensure that you're not spreading disease and stuff. You know, it's really heartbreaking to see when you see a grower who you know, has done like 20 grafts, and like, you know, 18 out of 20 of them or something, or even 20 out of 20 of them just fail miserably, and they all have the same like black goop on them. You know, something like that. That's something that more than likely the grower spread, you know, by use of their own blade and not properly sanitizing it. Once you get your cutting all cut down, you need a label for it, right? I really like, you know, these metal labels. Shout out goes, I'm sure a lot of you out there know who these come from. We all know Triconest, right? David Triconest Smith. But they are called the Impresso tags. The reason why I really like these is a very specific reason. Because when you write on these, it actually engraves the tag. Alright, so as you can see here, I just used a regular, this is like a Bic Atlantis pen, my personal favorite pen, by the way. Shout out to Bic Atlantis. I've just written on here, as you know, as you would normally write on just a piece of paper or whatever. And as you can see there, well, I kind of smeared the ink, so ignore that. But as you can see there, I could smear the ink off completely, and you see it's actually engraved into there. You know, those white tags that people just write on with Sharpies, either the Sharpie gets completely bleached out and you can't read your tag anymore, or the tag gets so weathered that it literally falls to pieces. And so these are an awesome solution for that. Once again, shout out goes to Triconest Smith. I'm sure a lot of you out there know him. If you don't, Cactus Affinity, cactusaffinity.com, great dude, great business. Guy knows what he's doing. All right, so and then once you've cut your cutting, we need something to sterilize it. A lot of people don't use this stuff. A lot of people say you don't need it. I totally get it. You don't need it, okay? You don't need it. But our job as growers is to improve upon nature, right? Not to just say, oh, well, it's good enough, right? At least the way that's the way I see it. What I like to do is I like to treat with sulfur. This is, you know, labeled as a plant fungicide. This is the company Bonide. I believe I've used a couple other companies before, and they are a, you know, you want to make sure that it says micronized spray or dust, as it says on here. So it's nice and, you know, like a fine powder. And also what I do is I mix Hormodin 3, which has one of the highest, or I think the highest percentages of IBA, or indole 3-butyric acid, which is a rooting hormone, that I've ever seen.
it's sitting at 0.8% of IBA, which is really, really high. Clone X, for instance, super popular for like cannabis cuttings and things like that. You know, excellent one that, you know, a lot of people use, including myself. And that, you know, has as low as 0.02. Okay, so this is very, very strong. And what I like to do with those is I like to mix them in a shaker. Shout out goes to Jess Mitchell for this. Really great idea. I like to mix them in a shaker, as you can see, about 50-50 there. Maybe slightly, you know, on this side you can see there's quite a bit more sulfur. Maybe slightly heavy on the sulfur side, you know, to make sure we don't get any like fungal or fungal infections, disease, rot, etc. I mean, sulfur kills just about everything. I have personally never had any sort of nasty growth on a cutting that I use sulfur on. So if you're one of these, like, you know, better safe than sorry type of people, use sulfur every time, okay? You know, because it's really kind of just idiot proof. It's not going to mess anything up. It can't hurt. It can only help, right? And as many have observed, the sulfur alone does seem to make the cuttings callus significantly faster. If you really want them to go fast, if you're really in a hurry, say, you know, you're late on a trade or something, you can always throw some sulfur, just sulfur in here, or maybe just a little bit of the rooting hormone, sprinkle it on the end of a cutting, right? And then throw it in front of a fan. That will actually, you know, speed up your callusing time by, I'd say, at least 3 days. You know, if you normally callus for about a week, you can callus for about 3 days under those conditions, and you're good to go. So next, I don't really do a lot of foliar spraying, to be honest. I know a lot of you foliar spray cacti, and I wanted to show you this really cool sprayer that I found. It's by the company Zep, which these can be found at the depot, Home Depot. They are a high output sprayer, okay? So what they've done with this is they've really just opened it up, so it just really sprays, like, you know, I don't know if you can see that, but, you know, it just really sprays just a really thick stream of water. It's really amazing. I mean, you go through the whole bottle really fast, which, you know, that sounds like a bad thing, but, you know, I'm sure, as many of you know, it's really a good thing. You know, I mean, nobody wants to be getting like carpal tunnel, you know, just sitting here, you know, switching hands back and forth. You know, your hand gets tired after a little bit spraying these, no matter how strong you are. And so these tend to just really just get rid of the bottle real quick. You know, they just go through it pretty fast, and, you know, so, you know, just really drenches the plant a lot more, which I like to see, particularly if you're, you know, treating a plant with, you know, if you have to, you know, God forbid, use some sort of insecticide for like an infestation of sorts. You know, you really want to just drench the shit out of the bottoms of the leaves and the top of the leaves. Okay. I also really like this because I don't know why, but they don't make any sprayer with a nozzle large enough to fit a hose. Okay, this will actually fit a hose. Really, really excellent sprayer. I really like this sprayer. And if you've got a ton of plants to spray, like me, or you just like overkill, also like me, you get a backpack sprayer. It's about, I'll show this off a little. It's about, I think 80 bucks, maybe, you know, they're a little bit pricey, maybe, I don't know, maybe 90, you know, somewhere in that range, like 80 to 100. Yeah, I got this on Amazon, you know, good old Amazon. I kind of regret not going with the metal wand one. Metal wand one is quite a bit pricier. It's like 180 or 200, something like that. But yeah, so these are excellent. You know, there's a little hand pump here. So you just pump and spray, pump and spray. So if you get the timing on these right, you can very well, you know, just kind of continually spray. You can kind of like ignore the pump after a while. Next, I want to show you guys the HexArmor ThornArmor gloves. We normally carry these on the website. We've been sold out for a bit. We should have them in the next couple months or so. Like I said, they're made by the company HexArmor. You can see right there on the wrist, HexArmor, and then I think it says ThornArmor right there, kind of across the pinky. These are literally the only cactus gloves that are worth a damn, okay? I really mean that, okay? I'm not just trying to sell you something because we don't even currently carry them right now. Okay, so go buy them somewhere else if you got to. You know, as you can see here, I'm holding this cactus by the spines. Literally the entire weight of the spines is sitting directly on the glove. They're actually coated with Kevlar, okay? So I like to joke you can catch bullets like Superman when you're wearing them, right? But no, don't try that. Don't try that. All right, but yeah, as you can see I can kind of just throw the cutting back and forth, throw the cutting back and forth, right? And it's not going to pierce these gloves. Every once in a while, if I'm being completely honest, it will catch you just right, and it'll go right through the Kevlar, okay? As I'm sure you guys have experienced, you know, 90% and up, right, is better than you know, nothing, or better, especially better than a lot of these really crappy gloves out there. All right, so for many of us, gardening is not our day job, right? I get that. For me, I'm a huge night owl, so even though gardening is my day job, you know, I'm one to be a crazy person and throw this thing on at, you know, it's midnight, 1 in the morning. Hell, I mean, I'm pretty sure I've been in the garden at 3 in the morning, you know, 4 in the morning even, and not because I got up that early. Okay, this thing's great. You know, it's great. It literally makes it like you're gardening it during the daytime. It's got 3 little LED lights. This is the one. They make a lot of these. I guess I don't know the exact model of this one, but I guess just make sure that you get one that has at least 3 LED lights, because I've had one with 1 and it's not quite bright enough. But this one, I mean, just blasts like just a stream, you know, of light, just like this wide. I mean, it's you know, it's awesome. Like, every good gardener needs a hat, right? Who cares what you look like out there, I say, right? This thing is dorky looking. I get that, right? But you know what? I'm super pale and I get burnt. I'm sure many of you out there are super pale and get burnt too. Okay, so get yourself a good gardening hat. Don't be stupid about it. You know, people are getting skin cancer and stuff. My next door neighbor, she's like a shout out to Judy Farrell. She watches this, but you know, she's like a second mom to me. She yells at me every time she sees me out there in the sun working without a hat. Okay, and you know, if any of y'all's moms yell at you for being in the sun without a hat, you should listen to them. Get yourself a good hat. All right, so lastly, I want to talk about the Quad Thick Tray by Future Harvest. I'm sure a ton of you out there have these you know, these horticultural trays. They call this a 10-20 tray. It's the common name for it because it's, you know, it's 10 by 20 inches. Okay, I'm sure a lot of you are going, what? How is he holding that like that? If you're using the really crappy flimsy ones, you can't hold cuttings like this. I can usually hold about 4, 5, you know, maybe even 6 feet, depending on how thick the cuttings are. As you can see here, these are real thick, so I'd probably only be able to fit about 4. But these are heavy cuttings, and as you can see, this thing isn't bowing out at all, right? It's very, very sturdy. These are the Quad Thick Trays by Future Harvest. For some reason, you can't find them on their website anymore, so I think I just, you know, did like a Google shopping search for them. But excellent trays, man. I bought myself 10 of these recently because I'm like, I'm worried they're phasing them out. So get these before they phase them out. After a long day of gardening, we all need to relax, right? So at a certain point, I like to toss the saw down and smoke a nice bowl out of one of my beautiful Mallacht plants pipes. Shout out to Ryan Harden for doing an amazing job on these pipes. The guy is a true artisan glass blower. If you guys need any custom work, I'm sure he wouldn't mind doing it. Yeah. Have a nice day, everyone. If you guys are interested in any of our sweet merch, the particular shirt that I'm wearing right now is the Mallacht Plants Columns design, and we make this in either black or blue.